All right. Welcome to Winning Wednesday. My name is Russell Pearson, and I am the founder of the Forge Business Program. And this is my little opportunity to highlight some of the amazing members who are part of the Forge. And today, it's my absolute pleasure to have Kian Baldwin on the line from Calibrate. Hello, Kian. Thank you for being here.
Hi, great to be here.
Absolutely. And I would love you to share with everybody. I will have a little quick conversation about what you've been up to, but I'd love everyone to know a little bit more about your business.
So I run a company called Calibrate. It has several divisions. The one that I'm working with Russell on specifically in the Forge is called Calibrate Ed, and it is an education strategy firm, which is a little bit different to your traditional schools and tutoring. We really provide roadmaps to help students and families navigate the challenges of high school and make sure that they unlock their potential.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of different ways that you do that. And is it certain year levels?
Yeah. So we focus on students that are in year 9 and year 12, because we find that that's the time where they're really ready to make those big changes. It's not to say you can't work with students outside those age groups, but that's where they're most open-minded and they're mature enough to make the changes that are necessary to reach that next level of performance.
Yeah. Now, some of those, I'm pretty sure that some of the clients, and also, some of the clients really are some of the parents really, because they're the ones paying for it in some cases. But then you've got the students. They don't have to necessarily come with a problem. They're looking to certain outcomes. What does that tend to be? What are they trying to get?
Yeah. So for the students, they tend to see that they're not, they're not improving. They're getting super frustrated. They usually come to me and go, look, I get that I have to study, but I'm putting on this work and I'm not pulling out the marks. I'm not sleeping. I'm anxious. I'm having meltdowns. I want to see my friends more. I want to see my boyfriend or girlfriend. They're not having a great work-life balance. So it's really about helping students navigate that, especially in the last couple of years where we've had quite a lot of disruption.
100%. And so, yeah, they are often not quite where they want to be. They want better marks, ATAR, but it's also about like helping them, just be better at what they're doing as far as like work-life balance, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I find that with these students, they genuinely want to do well, and they're my favorite students to work with. They genuinely want to do well. They're not, they're not trying to be difficult. It's really about genuinely meeting them where they're at. So, if you have ADHD, focusing is going to be a little bit harder for you. Or if you have anxiety and you haven't quite worked out your medication regime yet, then you're going to be a little bit loopy here or a bit more tired there. But at the same time, there's all this pressure. Like I'm in New South Wales, so there's all this pressure of the ATAR and the HSC. And it's really, really hard for students, not just students, but for parents as well. I get this from mums and dads, to watch their child go through that and feel like, I know that health is first, but their future is on the line. So what Calibrate does is they step in and they go, well, you don't have to pick and choose. We've got elite athletes, we've got, high performers, and we've got students that just, need a little bit of an extra boost. And that's what we kind of do. Well, you don't have to pick between your health or your career or your sporting goals. You can have it all, but there needs to be a strategy in place to make sure you get there.
That's very cool. And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing this for about 12 years now.
Yeah, nice one. All right. So I met you, how long ago? Was it about a year ago? Something like that?
Yeah, it was probably about June-ish last year.
Okay, cool. And I think we met through, there was a government program, and then I invited you to talk to me after that program finished. And you end up joining the Forge, which was fantastic. You're an amazing Forge member. Where were you at that time when you decided to join up?
Yeah, so just before I joined the Forge, I was exploring this idea of scaling, and it had been something that had been on my mind for a while, and there were a couple of different things that sort of brought the decision to join the Forge permanently that came to bear. And one of them was, of course, the scaling piece. There was a lot of where I was at, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate, is this overwhelm of taking that next big step. Having been a coach for so long and being a coach and a guide for so many of my families, I found that I honestly needed someone or an environment for myself. And that's one of the reasons that I sought out help via the government program where I met Russell. And then having spoken to him, I found that I had a really good rapport, because I'm the kind of person that needs not so much accountability in that you didn't do stuff, but Russell's really good working with me, because he also encourages me to recognize things I did do well, which is something I'm not very good at. I tend to just get the glass half empty rather than full. So it's nice to have someone to keep you accountable in truth, so that you can actually live a less distorted story.
Yeah, that's a cool way of looking at it, actually. And the other thing too is that you were doing a lot of the work. You were like doing a lot of the work with the students. You were looking at a way to scale that enabled you to step back and actually have a business rather than just being stuck in the doing of the work, wasn't that right?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation that I was in. So I've run several other companies, and one of them is actually education related. And I'd established a reputation for myself as an expert. But what was actually happening was I was having to turn away customers. I was having to say no. And, there'd be families that wanted to work with me, but I just simply didn't have enough time. So the big question was, and this was the hypothesis, can we find a way to scale me? We knew that I could sell myself. But it was, can I sell someone underneath me, a consultant or an expert, that I oversee their work, and they're delivering my methodology, my program, but that would also, allow us to reach a greater audience. So that was really the impetus. And I had this vision of, not just helping more families, but also be able to provide services at a more accessible price point as well, because, I wasn't running around doing quite so much stuff and constantly in sessions. It allowed me to actually access more students and support them better, because the stuff that, could really be worked on with their own coach, they would focus on. And now the stuff that needs a little bit of a special touch, or we bring them together for a little bit of a team pulse check, I'm able to facilitate that. I have time for that now. And then I suppose the other thing that I'm really proud of is I've spent many years in the education sector, and this also allowed me to create quite a lot of jobs or positions for educators who are really passionate about what they do, but they were getting burnt out in the education system, or they were ready to start a family, or they wanted to really apply themselves in a slightly different way. So in my mind, scaling, there were so many different reasons to do it. I was so motivated to do it, but I wasn't really getting clarity and focus on how to. And that was sort of what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's cool. And that sort of culminated into one of the reasons I wanted to get on here and celebrate your win was like, I think it was in February, you were able to be in a position where I think you closed, like, was it $120,000 worth of contracts?
Yeah. So that was a big moment for us, actually, because I've been working on building this with Russell and a few other supporters from about June, July of last year. And, a lot of that was spent building systems and putting together a bit of an engine, what I call a sales marketing engine. And that was what I wanted to get known for, to be really good at being able to find the right customer to match with the right education consultant. And then obviously we had lockdown last year in New South Wales, and all sorts of things happened. And I was really hoping to launch in October and November, and that just didn't really fall where I was hoping to. But what was really, really exciting was that in February, what we hoped would happen in October last year happened. And in our first month, really, of this year, we closed about 4 year-long contracts that were worth about $120,000, $130,000 that particular month, and they'll be ongoing. And most of those, probably about 60% of those, will actually be able to renew for a second or third year. So that was pretty cool to see after all the work, and to see it all go from beginning to end of the system and verify that it does work. That's
one of the things I love is that, for anyone watching this, one of the big things that I is sort of a qualifier for me is that the people I work with are good at what they do, because then you bring people in and you don't tend to just lose them instantly because of poor performance and poor delivery. You actually hold on to them and continue working with them into the future. So it gives you a great base to continue to grow on top of. So that's super cool. So you've been in the program a while now. What have you learned along the way? What are some of the key lessons that you've gone, okay, that's where I got that from?
I've definitely learned how to put together a system. Like before I started at the Forge, I was kind of like I was very lucky because I'd had a good reputation established. I had a lot of referrals, but I found that I wasn't really feeding myself. And what I mean by that is that I was relying on other people to feed me, to send me work, and it was great. Like for one person's pipeline, it was more than I could handle. But what I was struggling to do and really intimidated by was needing to all of a sudden find, 6 times, 7 times more work.
Yep.
And what I've managed to do in that time is to build a system that helps me actually create, a new audience. It helps me find customers that, aren't connected to anywhere else in my network. So they're brand new. So I'm quite proud of myself now that I can say, I can feed myself rather than just I'm waiting for people to bring things in. And it's been quite inspiring and quite liberating to feel empowered to do that.
Yeah, that's such a cool feeling once you realize that you can feed yourself. And even just that phrase, it's all it is like, I can actually find work, I can create clients. But at the but at the end of the day, you are literally feeding yourself by the income you bring in. I always found it to be great. Great lessons in systems. How would you say the Forge has helped you actually get here? Anything in particular?
Yeah, actually. Well, there's Russell, of course.
I'll put that to the side.
That aside, I'll be honest, when I joined the Forge, I almost left. And that was just because it was a bit of a shock. It was very different. Russell's having a laugh, but we've had interviews about this since. It was quite different to what I was expecting. And because I was coming from a place where I was working with Russell one-on-one, I was like, how am I possibly going to get more out of this? Is it going to be worthwhile paying this price point to get him for only part of the time? And I have to share him. Like, how am I going to get work done? And it took me a little while to actually find my feet at the Forge. But when I did, and I literally said this to the group on a call the other day, I was like, I literally don't know how to do my week without you guys, because it's really that camaraderie, that moral support, giving me the environment, the encouragement. Like we've got certain Forge members that are really inspiring and so good at what they do, but they're so different to what I myself do, or what I'm an expert at. They're an expert in a different field, but you learn from the way that they solve problems and the way that they talk to people. There's others that are so supportive in the background. They're not the first to put up their hand in a call, but they're thinking of you. And I know that because they reach out to me in between calls and go, hey, I know you said you were struggling with this thing. I saw this the other day in my sphere. Do you want me to connect you, or do you want me to chuck you the link? And so it's this kind of tribey. I don't like that word personally. I'm a pack person. Well, that village-mindedness that I really like.
The funny thing is that I didn't design any of that. That sort of happened behind the scenes, and I love that it happens. I encourage it, but it was something that has become for a lot of people sort of 50% of why they continue to thrive in there. And I think that's very much because there are certain people who are a little bit further along and they are in a situation where they can start to mentor some of the others, and that cements their learning. And those who are coming in can aspire to actually see where other people have built their businesses, whether it's actually a business like what you're creating, where you've got a team and you've got people doing the work for you, or whether it's a practice where they're actually just earning a lot of income doing the work themselves. I think that there is an aspirational and there's a mentoring element that really helps there. What advice would you give to someone who was just thinking about, getting started with the Forge?
If you were thinking about starting the Forge, I want to encourage you to go talk to Russell about why you're there. Because that's probably the biggest thing for me once I found that. And I kind of wish I'd brought that to Russell earlier on, because I kind of joined the Forge because I already had a good rapport. I'm not going to say he dared me, but he definitely had my curiosity piqued. And that's the way that I learned. But I think for a lot of other people, perhaps with that clarity and that certainty moving from the beginning, looking even my journey, perhaps I could have accelerated more. So I'd say if you've got questions and you're not completely sure, bring them to Russell. He's either going to say, yep, no. And, you might even poke your head in the Forge for a couple of sessions and actually see what it's like, because that was probably the biggest thing. I didn't know what I was getting into. Now I'm very, very comfortable. And, what Russell just said about that aspiring to mentoring, it really has crystallized some of my learnings to be able to to share some of my knowledge with the newer Forge members, and also realize, I've actually learnt that something that was super challenging, super difficult for me, is now something I can encourage others on. And I've had people before that, Forge members that are a bit more experienced than myself again, do that for me. So I really like that idea. So if you're someone that likes that kind of thing, like I would definitely have a conversation with Russell.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the point. You need to have a conversation, because at the end of the day, the Forge is not right for everybody. But for those people who have specific problems, specific attitudes that are going to thrive, that's when I recommend it. So thank you so much for joining me today, Kian. And I just want to say that I don't just appreciate you being a cool member of the Forge. I think what you're doing with the business that you're actually building really sits in my own value system, where it's super smart people helping other people. And I think that it helps me have a bit of a legacy, in that if I help you, you're helping all these other people who are then in helping all these other people. And I just love having you in the Forge. So thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Russell.
Love it. For everyone else, have a fantastic day. If you're watching this and it's a Winning Wednesday in the actual group, put a win that you've had this week. I'd love to hear from you and celebrate your wins as well. Until next time, stay passionate, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.